We begin on Italy's SS-120 at the official Targa Florio start-finish line. There, a purpose-built complex of structures adorned with Ferrari and Alfa Romeo signage of the era stands as they do today, though faded like shadows of the past. Moving south, slowly gaining elevation, we pass local residences and businesses, many of which still remain as they did. Drivers are already greeted by rather splendid vistas of the local countryside and views of the hills and mountain peaks which will draw ever closer. As drivers pass lush farmland and vineyards, they approach the first village of Cerda. This thriving Sicilian town is something of a metropolis with 3 to 5 story buildings the norm. Spectators and drivers are thrilled by the echoing roar of engines as cars blast down the Via Roma Strait. And just like that, Cerda is behind, and it's time to start climbing. The next segment is filled with blind corners and promises of pushing just a little more. Drivers will need to stay steady as there are tricks and traps aplenty. Knowing the fast and slow zones will separate top talent from the mid-pack, but no one is safe from a potential mistake from exceeding limits or random debris, and a single sideways car on the track could be devastating for all. The first notable feature is the switchbacks at Sclafani Bagni. During the days of the big race, this area was adorned with beautiful flora and fauna. Today, spring and summer still show some of the coloration, but nothing of the glory it once was. Not quite halfway, drivers take a hard turn east and cross a small bridge. We are now just a stone's throw away from Caltavuturo. Located on the side of the mountain Rocca di Schiara, this small city is larger than Cerda and has gorgeous views of the surrounding landscape. The original longer version of the race ran through here, but by the 60s, the course was shortened, and drivers would be diverted from the SS-120 to Strada Provinciale 24, where they will cut along some very demanding cliffsides. We are now in Sector 2 of the track. The racers then clear a large bridge south of the town of Scilado, now about halfway through this demanding course. Great concentration is needed as drivers work their way back north along these dangerous cliffs. After climbing switchbacks through forested areas and rock outcroppings, the scene comes upon lots of farmland and open fields. We then head due north towards Calassano. Drivers enter Sector 3 near the populous little city of Calassano. Nestled between some of the smaller mountains, the buildings rise high around the streets. While fast in sections, there are some very sharp turns to contend with as cars plunge down through the tight and twisting streets. At this point, it feels as though the end is nearing, but there's still a ways to go. The field continues north and west, racing towards the coast on SP9, passing Sant'Agata, which is roughly halfway between Calassano and Campo Felice. The pace quickens and there is an urge to go faster, but there are still many guardrails and walls to greet the overeager. Finally, Campo Felice comes into view. The warm-colored buildings welcome drivers to the cobblestone streets and fans cheer on the rushing pack. Still, there are some turns to contend with, and drivers will need to navigate successfully to keep their times down. Exiting the heart of the city, they race through faster and faster bends, finally coming to the coastal road of Strada Statale 113. This straightaway gives anxious drivers needed relief as they open up the throttle and push their machines to the max. For a moment, arms can rest while speeds reach up to 300 kilometers per hour. But damaged suspension or slipstreaming competitors can still make this long stretch a challenge. This is about the only chance they'll have to quickly assess their car's condition and determine what's needed for a rapidly approaching pit stop. But it's not over yet. At the end of the long straight, racers must choose their braking point carefully, as there are still some turns left entering Buono Fornello. And if they don't get it right, one of the businesses or home fronts could become their final resting point, so close to the finish. Just a dozen or so corners to clear, a tight left south, past the garage area, and there are the stands and pit road entrance. Drivers must quickly decide to turn hard left for service or take a deep breath and plow ahead for yet another lap. And if they see the checkered flag, they will breathe a sigh of relief and feel like a champion, no matter their final position.